Hey everybody, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're looking into a program that's been generating a lot of buzz, the Shogun Method.
Lots of buzz indeed.
Now this program makes some pretty bold claims about helping men find success in their love lives.
Hmm.
We've got some excerpts from their website, and honestly, some of this stuff is, well, a little out there.
Like what?
Military-grade mind control technology,
Oh, wow.
the IRAE Model,
Okay.
fractionation,
Interesting.
even emotional addiction.
You weren't kidding. This is some pretty intense stuff.
It really is, and that's why you're here, right?
Yeah.
To help us break this all down. So what do you make of the Shogun Method's premise?
Well, it definitely presents a unique system for creating, let's say, deep emotional connections that they say can lead to successful long-term relationships.
Okay, military-grade mind control.
Hmm.
That sounds intense. Where does the science come in here?
Well, they do draw on some established psychological concepts.
Okay, good.
They reference figures like Jung, Kinsey, and Freud.
Familiar names.
Yes, very much so. So they're not claiming some, completely new discovery about how the female mind works.
So no, like secret formula they've uncovered.
Right. More like taking existing knowledge and then packaging it in a very specific way.
Okay, I get it. So now let's talk about this thing they call the IRA model. What is that exactly?
Well, the IRA model is really like the heart of the Shogun Method.
Okay.
It stands for intrigue, rapport, attraction, and then emotional addiction.
Hold on, emotional addiction. That sounds a little, I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a strong term.
It is. Can you break down these stages a little bit more?
Sure. So intrigue is all about capturing a woman's attention right from the get-go,
Okay.
making her curious, making her want to know more.
Okay, I see.
Then comes rapport. That's where you start to build a connection, a sense of comfort,
Got it.
laying down that foundation of familiarity.
Okay.
And then, naturally, we move to attraction. This is about sparking those deeper feelings, creating that magnetic pull.
Right.
And then, the final stage, emotional addiction. As we said, a powerful term. This is where the bond becomes so strong that, well, it's supposed to be a lasting connection.
Okay. That's a lot to process.
Yeah.
But it's definitely interesting. And they also keep mentioning this technique called fractionation.
Right, fractionation.
I'll be honest, it sounds kind of mysterious. What's that all about?
Well, think of it like an emotional roller coaster.
Ooh, okay.
It's a technique designed to create these highs and lows.
Ups and downs.
Exactly, to intensify a woman's emotional experience and ultimately deepen the connection.
Okay, I can see how that would be pretty powerful if done correctly. Now, let's talk about the kind of guy who might be drawn to this program. Who are they trying to reach with the Shogun Method?
I think it appeals to a wide range of men, to be honest. Anyone who's looking for a structured, maybe even strategic approach to dating and relationships.
I see.
So that might be men who are struggling with their confidence or maybe finding it tough to attract women.
Okay.
Or even those who want to, let's say, reignite an old flame.
Get an X back.
Precisely. And it also draws in those who are genuinely looking for that long-term commitment, not just casual flings.
So it's not just about, picking up girls at a bar, but about building something more substantial.
Exactly.
It sounds like they're focusing on creating a connection that goes beyond just the surface level.
Yes, the Shogun Method really emphasizes going deep, understanding the psychology behind attraction, and using that to build those fulfilling relationships.
That's a pretty compelling message.
Yeah.
But, they do talk about using these techniques to get an X back, and I have to ask, isn't that a bit risky?
Well, relationships are complicated, right?
Very much so.
People drift apart, mistakes happen.
True enough.
And the Shogun Method kind of presents itself as a path to, let's say, reestablish that connection, reignite those lost sparks.
Okay, so it's not necessarily about manipulating someone back into a relationship, but more about trying to understand what went wrong.
And then hopefully rebuild, right?
Yeah, and rebuild that connection.
Yeah, exactly. With a better understanding of each other, hopefully creating a genuine second chance.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
This is all really fascinating stuff. We've covered a lot of ground already, from mind control to the IRAE model and fractionation, but we're just getting started.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot more to unpack here.
Definitely. So tell me, what else can you tell us about the Shogun Method's approach to dating and relationships?
Well, one thing that really jumps out is their emphasis on understanding female psychology.
Okay, that makes sense.
They really dive into what women truly desire in a partner.
And how do they translate that into, practical advice for men?
They give very specific, techniques and strategies, things that men can actually use to create that, well, they call it an irresistible allure.
Oh, okay.
Things like communication skills, how to build emotional connections,
Got it.
even how to cultivate that sense of confidence and charisma that we talked about.
So it's not just about, cheesy pickup lines or playing mind games. It's more about genuine personal growth
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
and really understanding women.
Absolutely. It's about empowering men to be their best selves, and that naturally should lead to more successful relationships.
This is giving me a lot to think about already, and I'm sure our listeners are feeling the same way. We're only scratching the surface here. There's so much more to explore.
Oh yeah, we've only just begun.
And we'll do just that after a quick break. We'll continue our deep dive into the Shogun Method, looking at more of their techniques, the psychology behind it all, and whether this program really lives up to the hype. Stay with us.
Looking forward to it. Welcome back. Now, before we go any further, it's important to note that the Shogun Method isn't just like a theoretical framework.
Okay, yeah, that's an important distinction.
They actually offer a structured program with modules and exercises, even personalized coaching, to help men actually implement these ideas.
So it's not just a book you read and that's it.
No, not at all. It's much more hands-on.
I see, so they really guide you through the process. Earlier we were talking about the IRAE model, those 4 stages.
Right.
Can you give us a specific example of how one of those stages might actually play out, in a real-life situation?
Sure. Let's take intrigue, the first stage.
Okay.
Imagine a guy approaching a woman at a coffee shop.
Okay. Classic scenario.
Instead of using some cheesy pickup line, he tells her this really captivating story about a recent trip he took.
Okay, I like it.
He weaves in elements of, mystery and adventure, something to really pique her interest.
So he's standing out from the crowd.
Exactly. And this ties into the Shogun Method's emphasis on being a high-value man.
What do they mean by that?
It's about a man who exudes confidence and charisma,
Right.
showcasing those unique qualities, creating that kind of aura that women are drawn to.
Okay, so you've got her attention, created that spark.
Yeah.
Now what? How do you transition to the rapport stage?
Well, they have this technique called mind control mirroring.
Mind control again.
It sounds a bit intense, I know,
It does.
but it's based on the idea that people are naturally drawn to those who are similar to themselves.
Okay, like attracts like.
Exactly. So by subtly mirroring a woman's body language, her tone of voice, even her words, you can create this kind of subconscious sense of connection.
So you're building rapport by finding common ground.
Precisely. It's about making her feel understood, like you're on the same wavelength.
Interesting. And what about the attraction stage? How do they approach that?
They introduce what they call the entice-repel cycle.
Entice-repel.
Yeah, it's about creating that push and pull dynamic.
Ooh, playing a little hard to get.
Kind of, but it's more strategic than that. It's about alternating between showing interest and then pulling back a bit.
Okay, to keep her on her toes.
Right. It taps into that natural desire for a challenge, it keeps her emotionally engaged.
Okay, so it's about finding that sweet spot between pursuing and giving her space.
Exactly. It's about creating that dynamic, exciting interaction.
It makes sense. We've talked a lot about these specific techniques, but what about the psychology behind them? What are some of the core principles driving the Shogun Method?
Well, a big one is this concept of emotional leverage.
Emotional leverage,
It's the idea that emotions really drive our decisions.
especially in relationships.
Yes, especially in relationships. So by understanding how emotions work, they say men can actually create this powerful sense of connection and attraction.
Okay, I'm following you. So how do they use this emotional leverage in practice?
Well, they have something called implanted commands.
Implanted commands. What does that even mean?
It sounds pretty intense, right? But basically, these are subtle suggestions embedded in your communication.
Oh, I get it. So it's like you're planting ideas without her realizing it.
Exactly. They're designed to influence a woman's subconscious mind.
Interesting. So you're using language in a way that evokes specific feelings and desires.
Right. And the idea is that this will ultimately make her feel more drawn to you.
So it's about understanding those deeper emotional triggers, the things that really drive attraction.
Exactly. And that's something they really emphasize, that attraction isn't just about logic.
It's about creating an emotional connection.
Right. A connection that goes beyond just the surface.
This is really making me rethink my whole approach to dating. All right, so we've covered intrigue, rapport, and attraction. What about the final stage, the emotional addiction? What kind of techniques are we talking about here?
Well, this stage focuses on the importance of vulnerability and really creating that lasting bond.
So being open and genuine.
Yes. Sharing your feelings, creating a sense of intimacy that's more than just physical.
So it's not about playing it cool and being aloof.
No, it's about letting her see the real you. The Shogun Method says that real intimacy comes from sharing your deepest thoughts and feelings.
And that creates a much stronger connection.
Exactly. It's about building something real, something that lasts.
This is really giving me a new perspective. I'm really interested to hear more about how they achieve emotional addiction. What other techniques do they use?
That's a great question, and one we'll dive into right after the break.
Can't wait. We'll be back in a moment to continue our exploration of the Shogun Method. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our look at the Shogun Method, and we're finally at the last stage of their IRAE model, emotional addiction. Now, I have to be honest, when I first heard that term, I was a little, I don't know.
Yeah, it can sound a little intense.
It does, but from what we've discussed so far, it seems like it's more about creating a really strong bond, a deep, lasting connection.
Right, that's exactly it. It's about fostering that connection that goes way beyond anything superficial, where two people feel a real sense of love and commitment, that emotional intimacy.
Okay, so it's not about, controlling someone or manipulating them like some people might think.
No, definitely not. It's really about building a relationship where both partners feel fulfilled and genuinely connected. And the Shogun Method is all about encouraging men to become the kind of partner who naturally evokes those feelings.
Okay, so how did they do that? Could you give us a specific example?
Sure, one technique they focus on is creating shared secrets. It's about building a world of intimacy that's exclusive to the two of you.
Okay, like an inside joke.
Kind of, but on a deeper level. Think about shared experiences or secrets, things that only the two of you know about.
I see, so it creates a sense of closeness and trust.
Exactly. It strengthens the bond, makes the connection feel unique.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But how do they address the concern that some men might use these techniques, in the wrong way?
Well, the Shogun Method is very clear about the ethical side of things.
Okay, good.
They really emphasize using these techniques responsibly, with respect for the woman and her feelings.
So it's not about, like, taking advantage of someone.
No, not at all. It's really about becoming a man who understands women on a deeper level and uses that understanding to build healthy relationships.
Right, it's about having good intentions.
Exactly. It's about becoming the best version of yourself.
Now, another thing that caught my eye was their mention of inoculation. What is that all about?
Well, they recognize that we live in a world where people are bombarded with all kinds of information and influences, some good, some not so good.
That's true.
So inoculation is about giving men the knowledge and the tools to protect their partners from those harmful influences.
Like negative stuff in the media.
Huh.
Or maybe manipulative people.
Exactly. It's about being that source of strength and support for your partner, helping them navigate all the complexities of the world.
So you're not just her lover, but also her protector and guide.
In a way, yes.
That's a powerful concept.
Hmm.
Wow, after taking this deep dive into the Shogun Method, I have to admit, it's really shifted my perspective on dating and relationships.
It definitely challenges a lot of the conventional wisdom, that's for sure.
It does. So for our listeners out there, if you're looking for, a quick fix or some easy tricks, the Shogun Method probably isn't for you. But if you're willing to put in the effort, if you really want to understand women on a deeper level, then this might be something worth exploring.
I agree. It's a program that requires commitment, no doubt about that, but the potential rewards could be significant.
It's been amazing having you here to guide us through this fascinating world.
It was my pleasure. It's always great to explore new ideas, especially ones that can help people create better, more fulfilling lives.
And to everyone listening, remember, relationships are all about authenticity, respect, and a genuine desire to connect. And that's something we should all strive for.
Couldn't agree more.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.